Hello everybody and welcome to another video where we are chilling out to some relaxing music. The week is basically over. We're getting closer and closer to Tokyo Game Show, which maybe means we are going to get some announcements in the rest of the video game world. And for this weekend, I've just been enjoying Astrobot and not worrying too much about Wotv, but recently I did my news video, and I did my news video about the most recent news on JP, which is the vision card coming out for gloves. And it was interesting, reading some of the responses. I don't overly concern myself too much with like what exactly certain weapon types need to be perfect or whatnot. And I didn't think too terribly much about this glove VC other than its potential synergies and how it was supporting some already pretty strong looking teams for a couple of reasons that I want to talk about, which this will lead into our major point today. So a couple of major points is, first, gloves are doing fine. For people who are like, glove can't do this well against the current meta, which has been around for the last few weeks. Yeah, glove is looking just fine, being very, very competitive against the top tier teams, except for maybe Cloud teams. And there's a reason for that. Cloud is anti-magic and very strong in that regards, and he pairs well with Joom, who is just good against this fire thing that's going on right now. So, first off, I just want to get it out of the way that I think glove is totally fine. It doesn't remotely include any of the old units, and that's also okay. But for what it is, that it's essentially fine. For second reason why is because it is a new BC that looks generally good with the bonuses. Like, more hollow BCs are generally better than less hollow BCs. I think we can all agree on that, which makes this VC potentially, just better than older ones. But it does support the current game method of the, if you want really strong teams, well, it's a lot of the most recent characters. If you have a VC that supports that, then it goes very, very well. As for the weaknesses of a specific class, it doesn't really factor into consideration, because I do believe that every team should have a weakness, and a pretty glaring one sometimes, so that there's some space to fight against it. Shrekken came out and had basically no real super visible weaknesses and was just way too strong. So that's kind of the bad situation to me when a character is just too strong. And I'm fine with weapon types and specific damage types not having the silver bullet to get through everything. Like, some people are like, well, we can just throw a ton of magic resistance up there and be good against gloves. Good. Like, I don't want to mince words about this. I'm fucking tired of OP teams of the strongest characters recently only, since Master Quest 3 or any upgrade path for older units just doesn't seem to be anywhere near the priority of the game makers anymore, which is discouraging and depressing. But I digress, because that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is talking about team building in terms of maybe a fruitless and waste of time, but you know what, the game's still alive, and in the spirit of trying to engage people and think about things that could be potentially positive, here's my dumb idea that I came up with, because I was thinking about that comment about, well, just magic resistance against gloves. And well, yeah, my original thought was good. I then started to think about, like, what way you could give old characters a meaning or a purpose again. Because again, like, Anniversary is a couple months away, and it's very clear that we are in this permanent power creep right now, where essentially it's like the strongest characters are just the three most recent strongest characters thrown in a party, and that's it. And it's really, really dull, to say the least. The best thing I can say about JP's current meta is that it's kind of maybe shaping up to be rock, paper, scissors, where Glove beats Shrekken teams beat Cloud teams, then Cloud beats Glove teams, which would at least be rock, paper, scissors, and, you know, some form of, I don't know, at least something. But yeah, wait. So here's the dumb idea. The dumb idea was that every new unit that comes out, like every single one, can still be just as strong. It can still be, you know, new things, new status effects, all of that stuff. I'm totally fine with that, because there needs to be some power creep to keep whales buying units, right? Otherwise the game just dies. And also an assumption for this video is that we don't want the game to die quite yet. So Astrobot is really good. No. So with every new unit, yes, you have all of this power still, and you can still make synergies, and basically the game continues along. But each new character that comes out in their kit has a baked in weak point. And you may say, well, hold on a second, Umber, why would that be a selling feature? Well, I mean, it's not overly meant to be a selling feature, but it is a way to potentially put some old units back in. Like, for instance, Sadali. Sadali comes out, and this new version of Sadali, and he's great, powerful, and does many, many things, but he's actually weak to a character in a light element. Like, just an example, Elena. You could do something more narratively interesting, especially with like Wotv story characters and whatnot, where they have some character that's relevant to the plot and whatnot that maybe just counters them in some weird way. That's a really neat way of incorporating lore into units. Like, for instance, like if Exia was a unit. If Exia was a unit and she had come out like 3 years ago, which doesn't make sense, but try and stay with me, then like Sadali is just naturally bad against that unit. Like he loses some stats when that unit is present. And it isn't directly a nerf because you know about it at the time, but it would potentially vary up team compositions as well as strategies, where, you know, it does give a function to older units, and it kind of pushes people away from always constantly just like the newest unit sort of thing, and potentially even gives like older players a chance to compete against really strong players. I mean, it's not necessarily like an instant loss thing either that I'm suggesting. It's just more of a severe, like a competitive handicap, let's put it as. And I think something like that is just pretty interesting, like to factor in lore into this, to just factor in and give old units a different style of purpose. And I mean, like, theoretically you could even do really weird stuff, like old Sadali is just kind of a little bit more malicious, so he naturally is competitive about it. But I would also like it if it was not necessarily the most effective element character, because we always have that already in the game where wind beats earth. So just putting more stock into that idea that wind is just naturally going to be better to earth doesn't really help like change things anyway. And I mean, if Gumi is for whatever reasoning listening to this video, because I don't think there are many content creators out there still doing this kind of stuff and giving free ideas, but I mean, it could also potentially lead into creating more space in vision cards, where you would need different vision cards to kind of support weird combinations of damage types and whatnot, to push back against very strong characters. Yeah, I mean, like, keeping around the old characters I think is still important, because when you get to like this year and you just think, I mean, man, look at all these characters I have that I've been collecting over years, and they just don't serve as much of a purpose anymore. So I think that this could be a really neat idea. It is just kind of my weird, dumb, one-off idea that probably won't go anywhere and will never be seen and never be talked about too terribly much. But yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or if you have some kind of variation on this idea of how you can make it potentially better, or an idea that's slightly similar. Because I've seen, oh, just to close out this video, I've seen lots of people over the years suggesting ways of improving characters by throwing stats on them, by, you know, maybe making exclusive vision cards for specific characters and whatnot. I think sometimes, you know, we get too locked in on the positive way, and maybe a negative would actually be a little bit better. And, you know, who knows? Like, this has not been worked on at all in Wotv history, the idea of synergies beyond vision cards and whatnot, but aura style effects have been introduced, and it could be a new direction where you have positive and negative auras for certain characters working together. I don't know, it's a thought at the very least. But of course, we will see more as we get closer to anniversary for whatever the next year plans are, providing the game lasts that long. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Take care, have a great weekend, and shameless promotion at the end of this video, not paid by Sony or anything, but this is a fantastic game. Later.